In this episode, we dive deep into the three biggest lessons, both good and bad, that shaped our PDR business in 2024. From unexpected challenges to major wins, we share valuable insights every PDR technician and business owner can relate to. We'll also reveal the top 3 tools that made a massive impact on saving us time and money this year. Tools that we believe will remain essential going into 2025. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting in PDR, this episode is packed with actionable takeaways to help you grow your craft and your business. Tune in to stay ahead of the curve and set your PDR game up for success. All right, welcome you guys to this podcast here. I don't know exactly episode. Obviously, you'll see it in the title. Joe and I are doing this spontaneous. We are catching up with ourselves in regards to the market, right? What we felt that was really helpful in the year of 2024. So basically the PDR wins, challenges, and game-changing tools for 2024 going into 2025. So this podcast is about. Before I get into having a discussion with Joe, I want to remind you that Black Friday is coming up, of course, Dent Trainer Black Friday. We have once again, tons and tons of tools to give away. It will be a one-day event only on Friday. I don't know how long it will take, but we are going to go live. We'll be going live on YouTube, the Facebook page, I believe even Instagram. I think they're going to implement that on Instagram, and also whatever else platform we can do. Don't miss it. It is going to be the lowest prices of the year. The prices have already gone up on Dent Trainer. So if you are already locked in as the grandfather pricing under the $250, $270 mark, then you will stay at that range until you cancel. If you don't worry, if you're also in the you're already a Dent Trainer member, let it relapse, you'll still be in the drawing. If you signed up 6 months ago and you have a yearly, you're still in the drawing, so don't worry. Anybody who signs up new or renews will get a code to Anson PDR on their app and get $100 credit to their app, the Anson app. Props to them. Thank you very much for Anson. Thanks for all the participants who are. It's too many to list. I will definitely be thanking everybody during the giveaways. Just to mention PDR Finesse, Ducky Tools, Dent Craft Tools, Carbon Tech, VIP, Glexo, gosh dang. Dent Slayer, A1 Tools. Geez, am I forgetting any? I know I'm forgetting people. Dent Reaper. Gosh, I forgot them too as well. So please don't.
Too many to list, huh?
Yeah, it's a lot to list, but there's a ton of people who are giving things away and for us to give to you. So don't miss it this Black Friday. It actually starts, so you can start signing up the 27th through December 1st. You will be qualified. And even if you miss the drawing, you still get that credit to your Anson app, so you can use it towards tools. Anyways, Joe, thanks for listening to that. Now we are getting into the nitty gritty here. So Joe, how you been, buddy? We haven't done a podcast. I think this is maybe third one all year, maybe. We've been kind of.
I need a refresher course from Toledo, man, so I can better run my business.
Yeah, well, it's been a crazy year for sure. A good year. We've learned a lot, and that's why we want to talk about some things. Some wins and some lessons and tools that have actually changed, help save time, and some tech tips I want to talk about. Like, you have a great tech tip and I wanted to share with everyone, but we'll get into that later. So stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to talk about that. So, Joe, what's crack-a-lackin', dude?
Oh, not much, man. Not much. I'm glad to be back on the podcast.
In 2024, this year, of course.
Yeah.
And not only did you come up with that, you came up with maybe 3 things that you would offer some advice to new PDR techs that are in the industry. So I didn't come up with that. You did. So I would like to just start off with that and get that, going, because again, here at the Mike and Joe Dent Show, PDR Dent Show, we do not waste a lot of time farting around. So we want to we know your time is valuable, just like ours. So we want to get you going in this. So Joe, if you don't mind, if you like to just share any of those or
Yeah,
all of it, what's
for sure. I
go ahead.
can. Yeah. Well, I wanted to start. I'll start with my lessons that I like, the most valuable lessons. Two things that I've learned this year that even in my ripe old dinosaur age, I'm still learning, man, and it's freaking awesome. Because if you're learning, you're growing, right? And if you're not growing, you're dying. So anyway, we're gonna start, Mike, with some of the lessons I learned, and one of those for me has been, as I have evolved into my little shop and I'm trying to wear more hats now, and uh, I am hitting a wall to where it's very clear that I'm going to have to start delegating things out to other people. And this is something that you and I have talked about many times, and you do it expertly. You have a team of individuals. And one of those lessons, though, that I'll get back to here is that when I'm working in my business, I'm not working on my business. When I'm working on my business, I'm not working in my business. So something's got to give. I watch you. You have a good team around you. You delegate, you lead, you communicate to your team. What they need to be doing, and they do it. And I know it's not always without friction, and there are challenges to that I'm sure you could elaborate on, Mike. But what that means, though, is that, like, if you've got Big John working on a project in the shop, you can work on your marketing. You even talk about marketing, even hiring people for that too, and I think it's crucial for that. So that was one of my key lessons I've learned this year, where, I've always known it, but it now is more apparent than ever that, again, when I'm working in my business, I'm not working on my business.
Right.
No.
Right. So is that something that that sounds like not even just for the newbie tech. I think it's for any
Absolutely.
company owner.
Absolutely.
I think a lot of people, I think what we try to do, if you don't mind me, elaborating on that, I think what's
Sure.
the hardest thing for somebody to do that is that, and I still go through that. Okay.
Mhm.
Is letting somebody take the reins that you used to do for so long because you feel that they won't do it as good as you.
Mhm.
And to a point, you're right, or I'm right.
Right.
You'll never find, I don't think, somebody that will do everything that you do the way you do it, right?
Right.
My biggest thing, I think, is video editing. That's the hardest part, right? I do like that. That is going to be my 2025, you know, goal. I don't know if I'll be able to achieve it. I'm going to be quite honest with you. I've been trying for a year with different people, and I'm
Right.
working with a guy right now. He's doing his best to see if he can, and he's willing to do it. That's the great thing. You always want to have somebody who's willing to work with you. So,
Mhm.
but yes, but other things I've been able to do. So yeah, Joe, I think that's the biggest thing, a hurdle for anybody. If you're a brand new person or a tech or a company, I think it will be easier for you to delegate that and let go and let them have some creativity, let a longer leash on them, let
Mhm.
them come up with something that would help brand your identity and whatnot. But when you've been doing it for so long or something for so long, it's a challenge, and that could be a personal issue.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I appreciate you elaborating on that, especially because you do that expertly. Like I said before, I mean, you've been scaling your business since even before, before we were getting the prices we were able to get now with PDR. So, I commend you on that, Mike. And that's something that's been very challenging for me to, like you said, hand the reins to someone else. But there's no excuse for it, because you know, I would say that generally the the abilities of most, well, I wouldn't say most, but a lot of PDR technicians, they have the ability to do a lot more now than ever, with all the equipment, all the techniques that we have and that we all share, so, and like you said, it's not going to, nobody's going to be perfect at everything. But it's about working within those parameters and finding the right, um, gigs for each individual.
Let me ask you this though, Joe. Do you have any ideas on how you're going to attack that plan, or
Yeah, well,
what's your
for
step?
me, for me, I am trying to get. In the recent years, I I kind of put myself in a position where I've had to, rely on myself, and so I'm digging myself out of a hole a little bit financially, and some people know my story who have listened, back in the early days of our conversations together, Mike. And so I won't bore people with uh, that, but right now I got to stay lean and kind of like that old saying goes, keep it small, keep it all kind of thing. But I'm not trying to keep it. I'm trying to get to the next level, if that makes sense. Where, but it's just around the corner. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel in that regard. And when I'm ready, it's going to be about having a team of,
Yeah. Yeah.
of people with the same with a common goal. And I look forward to that.
Yeah.
For now, it's me, but that's why it kind of stings when I know, okay, my business isn't growing at this moment as I'm pounding away at this fender. You know what I mean? But we'll get there. I'm still a work in progress too. So that was one of the lessons that I learned this year. And so that one isn't necessarily for the newbie techs like you had asked me to. This is more of the, what I've learned. It's so another, which leads me to lesson number 2 for me. And again, these are things that I've known, but they just had a more impact on me, this year. And the lesson number 2 for Joe in 2024 was just because you can doesn't mean you should. And so to elaborate, like if a prospect says something doesn't need to be perfect, and I know you know what I'm talking about, Mike, and I know you who's listening right now knows what I'm talking about, because we all get that. Somebody says, "Oh, come on, Joe, just do it, please. I don't need it to be perfect." And then you go and you do it, and you do your best, and it's still not within your standards. And maybe the person's happy, or maybe they're not.
Are you referring to some, like you do something, you're not happy with it, you either discount it or give it away? Are we talking about that kind of
Not
factor?
necessarily, because I can't afford to give shit away these days.
I was just going to say that I have people, I've been doing this lately, Joe, and if you don't mind, like me, giving my 2 cents on what you said.
Yeah.
I tell people, I say, look, here's the deal. Even repairs, repairs that maybe shouldn't be done, but they want me to attempt.
Mm-hmm.
Some people think that just because you attempt it and it might not come out right, they think that you're just going to wash your hands. Well, I tell people, I say, listen, I don't mind trying, but it's going to cost you $350 just for my time to make the attempt.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably about an hour just to see if it's something it will go into that direct effect. Otherwise, you're rolling the dice, or if it was me, maybe you should consider a body shop. But if you want me to try that hard, this is where it's going to go at. And heck, hopefully I can get it out, but I'm not sure, but you're paying me for my time at that point. I've really learned for people to respect my time, because it's not just about the size of the dent or the factors of the dent. It's your time that's implemented into the repair.
Yes, absolutely. And that time you don't get back.
No.
We are trading our time for money. And that's, time. You can earn money, you you can earn back money. You cannot earn back time. So it has to be worth your while. Which leads me to that. The second part of that is, like what I said about just because you can doesn't mean you should. Well, these jobs that we take on once in a while, these Rivians, for example, like Mike, you had one not that long ago, a silver one that took you several days to do it. And you touched on this, and I'm going to talk about this again, is that, again, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Well, in this case, those types of jobs that are just crushed, I mean, and they take time, they take resources, they are very demanding, to where you almost have to, I mean, you kind of have to be in the flow state to be able to get those, to get a good portion of those out and get them under control. And while you're in that flow state, that means you almost have to turn off your phone. You almost have to stop your business while you're doing these jobs. So it leads me to ask the question, is it worth it to do those big smashes at the end of the day? If you're just one dude, and you're out there doing mobile, and maybe it's worth it, but still.
No, I don't think I think you are losing money when you do that, because chances are you're probably not charging for what it's worth. You're not charging for what it's worth or your time. And when you don't charge what it's worth or your time, you're never going to be the caliber technician that you want to be. You never will, because you don't understand the value of your own time, and you don't understand what it takes, the experience to get it to a certain caliber of that. Now, there's technicians out there that will actually do dents and glass the dents, but they do it for trophies, right? They do it for an ego. Not everybody, but I'm just saying there's people out there that will do dents and have more pride in saying that they did the repair than actually, doing themselves a favor and doing a good job. I'm just saying, as a profitable business standpoint, I don't think it's worth it if you don't have a team that's doing the other repairs while you can concentrate on that type of repair. Granted, right, you see clarity through failure, right? The more you can understand by failing and doing these type of repairs and realizing, man, I need more time, I need to charge more, I need to reevaluate what the value of my time is worth, so I can get a clear picture about the next time I do this repair. And chances are it will probably take you half the time or 25% of the time compared to that, less of the time. It's a win. But every time you get faster doesn't mean you need to give yourself a pay cut because you got faster at it, right? It needs to carry over into that. This is part of what I've learned in 2024, this year, right? Is I'm reevaluating the value of my time, and regardless if the customer agrees that they want me to do the repair, I'm agreeing that I'm going to get paid for something of my time. So, or I just turn down the work, just like you say, right, Joe? You say, not every dent that you could do, you should do. Right.
And how can you turn that work down? Like it's counterintuitive to a business, especially a business that specializes in doing really great dent work, right? And you market it as such, and we're showing these big dents that we do. Well, I think the way to turn it down, you're not really turning it down this way, but you price accordingly. You already said it, Mike. You charge more. And even beyond, sometimes a price guide or what you come up with, Mobile Tech RX or pricing guide or whatever software you're using, sometimes that's not enough for that job. When you consider, like you said, your time, when you consider, okay, when I'm dedicating myself to this massive repair or this really intricate, time consuming, resource consuming repair, it's got to be worth it, and if it's worth it, on top of that, you could also afford to possibly hire somebody to do the job, an A-level.
That's the whole point. I mean, honestly, if you put yourself in a position where you already know that you are going to be have that business model or that type of, you're going to be that tech. Listen, you charge, if you charge for what the price guide says, okay, price assessment, right? And it's pretty on point, and you agree with yourself that the time involved, and generally it takes more time than you assume. Let's put it that way. It always does, especially the bigger repairs. But
Right.
even if it takes longer, in the middle of the repair where you know it's taking longer, it's still worth it to you, right?
No.
It makes you a better technician because now the value of what you're going to get paid, the price what you're going to get paid, you turn into a better technician. You turn out better quality repairs. Your customers are going to be more happier because you are going to get your butt handed to you through half these repairs, right? Why
Right.
not get paid to do it and realize and measure that? And you'll find you'll through clarity, through failures and success, you'll find that answer, right?
Yep.
Now, you asked me about like how do you direct people, and I have a couple things. I write down things, I write my thoughts down. I
Yep.
talk to people and I say, one of our things is, is our goal is to provide premium repairs that maintain your vehicle's integrity and value, right? We may not always be the lowest priced option, but we believe in offering results that justify the investment. If cost is your primary concern, we completely respect that and encourage you to find a solution that fits your budget.
Nice.
So it's po- politely and professionally declining the
Mm-hmm.
customer's offer
Yep.
or a discounted rate
Mm-hmm.
that they like, oh, I thought it was gonna be cheaper. Can you do it lower? Can you do this?
Right.
It doesn't let the door slam on them, but it politely lets them know that that is not my business model, dude. Right?
I
You
like
sent
that.
me something the other day. You said, well, like, or today. I was like, it goes, when someone asks for a discount, you're like, hey, can I get a free tie with that? The guy was like selling like suits or something. He goes,
Yeah.
can you throw in some free ties? And the guy goes, well, if I discount it, right? What did he say? Something, Joe? Like, what did he say?
What he was talking about was
I forgot what he said.
he was talking to this negotiator, master of negotiating. This guy was talking about like the worst thing you can do for like a service person or a company is to you guys agree he agree to a price, and you go ahead and have this service provider start the repair, or the in this case he was talking about making a suit, like tailoring a suit, and then you start asking for discounts after you've already agreed with the price, and he said that's the worst thing you can do, like, so don't do it because you're just going to piss the person off, and and I sent that to you because that's precisely that happens in my shop once in a
It
while.
happened today.
It
Happened
happens to
today.
you. Yeah. And it's very awkward. It's a really shitty conversation to have, I want to kick
Listen,
the guy out. Well,
I,
tell me
I
about your.
honestly, I don't mind if they say that, but I took a page out of Paul Corin because him and I, we used to talk. You used to talk with him too as well, and we were roommates in MTE and stuff. But we share thoughts on this too, right? And Paul's suggestion, and I've actually learned from him. Like, I learn from everybody just as much as anybody learns from me on things, right?
Mhm.
Don't give people discounts because they asked for it. That is the wrong thing to do because they're going to undermine your price assessment, your value of what you're going to prepare for them, right? So if
Mhm.
you have a price assessment, you're doing your thing, whether it's a reflection board that has prices on the back, or you're using MTE, or what's the other one that Michael has,
Dent
but
me. Dent,
what's that?
dent, dent.
Detonate, yeah.
Yeah.
Regardless of using one of those, right? And you present the assessment, the cost to them, and they're good. And then they ask, hey, can you give me a discount? And you say, sure, I'll give you whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
That's undermining what you offered because they will never respect that anymore in
Right.
the future.
Mhm. That's right.
Don't let them give you the reason to give you a discount. You give them a reason to give a lower offer, a helpful, let's put it, I don't even like to say that word, dude. Like, I teach my students, do not say discount, dude, because
Yeah.
that's insulting. It really is, dude. Right? I would never say, hey, do you have a discount? Like I, because I have a business myself, right? I'm not going to do that, right? Like, don't ask for the price and don't ask like to ready to buy and then you can't afford it. But
Yeah.
my main thing is, look, I'm not going to offer you a discount, but however, are you a first time client? Are you a repeat client?
Mhm.
Oh, yeah, I'm a first time. Great. Okay. We appreciate your business. For our first time clients, we can offer you a 5% offer off the price.
Yeah.
That means there's a closed door. There is no wiggle room next time, right? I'm not going to tell you a repeat either. Now, if my repeat says, "Hey, I'm a repeat," okay, I will give you a reason why. I'll give you 5%. I've had people go, "Well, for only 5%," I was like, "Dude, then I'm about to let them go. I'm about to let them go."
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I was like,
Right. Right.
5%. So that that's the only thing I could say. But you guys don't say discount, man.
Yeah. It's kind of well, it's a slippery slope for sure. You know.
It is a slippery slope, and you said it earlier off air. You said, Mike, it's kind of hard to stick to the plan when you're hungry,
Yeah.
right? When you are you got a family to feed,
Yep.
right? You're slower than normal. You need the
Mhm.
dough.
Yeah.
Hey, you know
That's
what?
what everybody.
I'm not gonna tell anybody how to run their business in that way.
Yeah.
I am going to share how I do it, and when it push comes to shove, you got to do what you got to do. But are you conditioned? You just have to learn to not condition yourself into that habit for those things.
Yeah.
But you never feel good when you know you want to be this type, have this business model, and you're accidentally lowering yourself to the other business model, right? To the business model you
Right.
don't want,
Right. Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
So again, I have no right to tell somebody, hey, you should charge something more. This is all based on you and me, Joe.
Mhm.
And
Yep. These are,
this is our therapy and our back and forth thing that we're sharing.
and it's relative. You know, it's according to our experience, our journey, our business model. Like you said, who our ideal client is. You know, we are very intentional and specific about who we're wanting to work with. You know, which is part of my other three things that you asked me to come up with for the listeners, but we'll talk about that after. I want to hear your lessons that you've learned this year.
Yeah, sure. I've got let me go to my notes here. I'm always kind of so I'm gonna name them. I'm gonna name three things, right? And then we'll elaborate on each one. So mindset mastery, right?
Mhm.
Clear communication with your client
Okay.
and playing the long game.
Okay.
Okay. So uh, let's start with playing the long game.
Okay.
All right. So PDR is like a marathon, it's not a sprint, and there's always another one ahead. Okay. So regardless if you're learning paintless dent repair, that's a marathon, right? You're learning to finish, you're blending, you're doing a big dent. These are mini marathons, to be
Right.
honest with you, right? Students have mini marathons. When I'm training them, they're finding their tooltip. They think at that point, it's going to be the biggest hurdle. They have this head trash in them, which we're going to talk about too. But finishing is a hurdle, right? And finishing is a huge, long marathon for a lot of PDR technicians, specifically the new ones.
Mhm.
Pricing, the business aspect, learning the value of your thing is a marathon. What I'm trying to say is that everyone is in a marathon at one point or another. Some start before others, some finish before others, some some don't. Some never feel like they're never going to finish that marathon, right? And
Yeah.
get through it.
Right.
I do think the name of the game in these journeys of PDR is your patience. You're testing your patience, right? When you do a dent, a big smash, Joe, you're doing a big smash or Rivian or just something that's very, very challenging. You need to realize that, hey, sometimes you need to get out of the marathon for a little bit, man. Like and maybe come back and revisit it. And meaning by like you may need to step back and take breaks and learn to woo-saw and
Refresh.
you might not finish marathon like that marathon. That's what I'm trying to say. You might not finish. You might fall right on your ass on that dent because you took on more than you could. You weren't properly ready to do that, right?
Mhm.
Um, That goes for the business part, dealing with insurance. I think that is a huge marathon. I
Yeah.
feel like I'm still in it. I feel like I'm only maybe halfway through that
Yeah.
journey of dealing with insurance, communication with insurance companies.
Yeah.
I thought you and I, Joe, thought the biggest hurdle was getting the client to make an insurance claim. I thought that was going to be a long marathon, and it wasn't. It was practically a 5K compared to the friggin',
Yeah.
the insurance company is that. So I feel
Right.
like that is one of them. Okay. So everything you do, you have to make sure that you pace yourself through these things. You don't rush your journey, right?
Right.
I think you need to embrace it.
Yeah.
I think you need to learn when you fail. You're going to get more clarity as you fail. You'll realize, okay, what did I learn from here, and what can I change, and what can I make it different to make me better
Yeah.
as in that aspect. So that's playing the long run, the long game.
So
Okay.
long. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Clear communication. So I am very good now with clients, regardless if I'm texting them, talking to them in person, dealing with a client that has an insurance claim versus paying out of pocket, right? There are two different pricing for me when I have a deal with a client, with regardless if they have a choice, they're thinking about making a claim or thinking about making out of pocket. It doesn't matter to me because my price is going to be still benefit for me, right? And the client, because they're going to get a good repair. The benefit of clients, if they pay out of pocket, well, we cut out the insurance company, we cut out the time involved with the insurance company, we cut out the lowballing, the steering, all that, right?
Right.
And they're going to pay this price, which is going to be generally lower than if I take care of the claim.
Okay.
And I'm going to explain that, right? The customer goes, well, why is that? Because I don't have to give up my time going back and forth and fighting to get the best repair possible for my client, right? The car isn't here for a minimum of 3 to 5 days while I try to get a hold of the adjuster, write things down, have debates about whether the cost is relevant to their price, whether to mine. So basically what I'm trying to say is that I have to tell the client, and here's an example. Mr. Smith, listen, you have two options. You can pay out of pocket, which is this price. If I go into your insurance, is likely it's going to be higher because there are hurdles I have to go through to talk to your insurance company. Your insurance company isn't on your side. They're going to try to steer you here. They're going to want to generally paint your vehicle, and they unfortunately, don't care if you want to get the better repair or not. They're the ones that are going to dictate your price and
Right.
how it's going to turn out. It's going to take longer. You're going to have a Carfax report. Do you have rental car insurance? No. Okay. Well, the rental car insurance is generally $50 a day for the thing. So I go through the whole thing and I show them how long it could take. So let's say they do want to do that, right? All right, perfect. So here's the next process. So this process is going to probably take about 3 to 5 days for them to assess it and us to come to an agreement, possibly. Once we come to an agreement, my cost might be more than what they're willing to pay. And what they generally like to do is tell you or me to tell you that you need to come up with the balance of the cost. I'm not sure if you are going to be okay with that, but if they do say that, are you willing to pay it? And if they're not, are you willing to make a small claims report so you can get small claims, take them to court, and get your full money back to you? I've been dealing with that lately. The last two insurance things have been telling me to do that. Matter of fact, Derek Kessler and from Dent Demon, they called me and they're going through that same thing, right? You're at their mercy when you have that. I don't want to go this too long, but communication or telling the customer, look, are you going to be on my side?
Yeah.
So I'm very clear on communicating. I'm not afraid to lose the job because I get my time. I want my time back, dude. Like, I don't want to waste a lot of my time. At the end of the day, the insurance wins and the customer pulls the car out.
Yeah, yeah, we've all experienced that. Those of us who are working with insurance,
Yeah.
it's a crappy feeling for sure.
And then when it comes to estimates on customers, I want to make sure that we are okay, Mr. Smith, we are repairing the right rear quarter, no paint included. If there's paint damage, we are removing the dent. All text estimates are preliminary until seen in person.
Yeah.
Text estimates are subject to change. Okay.
Yes. Mhm.
Very clear. I don't care. I had a customer today is like, I need you to give me one price. And I think this price is it's not worth this much. So he's telling me, number one, he's telling me that he doesn't think the value of my service is worth it. He's telling me what the price is. And I kindly told him, I don't think we're the right fit for you. Good luck on finding the budget that you want. And thank you very much. Right.
What do
So
you think?
nothing. He didn't say nothing.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
So I learned to be very, very clear. I'm not condescending. I
Yeah.
want to be. I want to be condescending.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Right. I want to be telling them to kick sand. But I'm still Joe. I'm still learning to hold my temper. If you
Well,
see some of my comments sometimes, the way people attack me like for not finishing a dent completely perfect, right? And that's another podcast, right?
yeah.
Because I am a technician or a company that does show reality repairs, regardless if they come out perfect or not.
You're
Right.
one
And
of
I
the
think I
few.
hold my own. I think I hold my own because a lot of people, are, anyways, I'm not going to get into the negative part of that, but I just wanted to mention the clarity part. Right. So, last but not least, real quick, so you can get turned over to you, is the mindset mastery, right? It's what regardless if you're new tech, this is for the new techs too. I think that I see it time and time and time again because I train students, right? And their biggest hurdle is the belief. I'm not good enough, Mike. I can't charge that. I was thinking maybe I just charge my friends a little bit of money, or I charge, I won't charge as much because I need to get the practice in. Or I'm a 2-year tech. I can't, I don't, that Mobile Tech RX is just way too much. I can't get that price here. Right. We hear that too as well.
Oh yeah.
I'm not, you really have to understand that. Is that really the fact, or is that just your head trash telling you that? Is that really you? Because and ladies, I felt the same way for a long time,
Yeah. Oh
right?
yeah. Yeah. We all did.
What changed us, really got super big clarity, was when I finally started like, okay, and it was way too late. It was the Rivian repair we did, right? I don't need to say how much it was because we already talked about that, but it was definitely in the double digits. Okay. And we didn't, that changed the way, a final thought of like, okay, I got friends that are making $100,000, dude, a month, PDR, non-hail, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to mention names because that's their business,
Yeah.
but you can make good money and you decide how much money you want to make, and you can control your future the way you want. And you want to do 2 joint customers a day, you can, but you got to think about like the head trash about how you think and what you believe, and the actions. Like, because here's the thing, you think about an action, right? You think about, oh, I can't do that. You're looking for justification whether you can or can't. So if you can, you look for reasons why you can. If you can't, you look for more reasons why you can't.
Right.
It's crazy, Joe, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, it really is a mental game, isn't it? And for all of us, we all have that. And um, sometimes I think that people just need to experience enough successes to really believe it. But if they're experiencing just constant rejection, I can understand, like you said. I mean, if they got to feed a family, it's pretty hard to not think that it's the
It's
wrong.
not just your thinking though, too, right? It's the actions too, though, Joe. I mean, like,
It really is. You have to turn it into habit, man. You
yeah,
know.
like, you know, people, not people. I'm not gonna like. It's not people. It's I know there are spectators out there that um, follow me and look at, and I've had some questions. People ask me like, "Hey, Mike, aren't you afraid like because you put pricing on your stuff, like you're gonna lose customers?" And I say, absolutely, yeah. I know I will lose customers. Yeah, yeah, I will, and that's on purpose. I'm losing the customers I don't want anyways. I'm losing the customers who assume that it's going to be cheaper, right? And that goes to the part of the fact that like when you decide, or for me, when I decided that I knew I wanted this certain type of client, I knew how was I going to get that client, right? What was my game plan?
Right.
And I had to kind of educate people about what a general cost for similar damage was going to be. I still do that and I still believe in it no matter what. Do I gloat about how much money I get for a repair? No, I'm just educating the client who's reading, who bothers to read, who's the ones who are actually really doing their homework and
Yeah.
want the best quality repairs possible.
Mhm.
That's who I'm actually targeting. I'm not targeting that client there.
Yeah.
And so when I made that mindset about who I wanted and I got clear, I
Mhm.
had to get clear on how I was going to obtain that client. And I still am critiquing it. And I think I'm getting better and better at these repairs, right?
Sure.
As far as like not, and my repairs get better, by the way. I become a better tech. I become better results. We're pushing ourselves to do much, much more harder damage, right?
Right. Mhm.
So that is part of the mindset for me, and I think that it's important for anybody who wants to become a better tech. You have to change your mindset, right? So that's that's my take on that.
That's awesome, Mike. Well, that's well said, and it uh, kind of overlaps into what one of the things but I'm going to list on my little three things, pieces of advice for the listeners. And but I wanted to touch on something, like gosh, I kind of lost my train of thought there, man.
Sorry, Joe.
It's okay. It's okay. I mean, I have my list right in front of me, but I wanted to ask you about like as far as like guys who are struggling with that, like all these things that you're mentioning. I mean, I think, do you think that it's because they're not identifying their ideal client and they're just trying to deal with everybody? Do you think it's that they're just so eager to try and do business, any dent is fair game,
Yeah,
that they're running into trouble?
yeah. I think that well, you got to be structured. You got to write it down, right? You can't listen to this podcast and go, I'm going to do what Mike and Joe are thinking about, dude. Right.
Yeah.
And you just like try to keep it in your head and you
Mm.
don't have it written down. Write it down. Like even some of the best, most successful people say, get a piece of paper, write it down. Like, how are you going to obtain what's your ideal way of getting a client? And you'll see on paper if it's going to work,
Yeah.
right? The
Yeah.
best football player coaches write down stuff, right? They get a
Right.
piece of scratch paper and they write down things and they see if what's going to work. That's what I had to do, right? You
Yeah.
get super clear on like what you want to do.
Right.
Look, if you want to be the cheapest dent guy, you want that business model, write it down. How are you going to be the cheapest dent guy? Advertise, you do videos like, hey, I'm
Mhm.
$50 a door ding. You're gonna get you'll get that customer. Hey, no, I want the best customer. I want the best customer. I'm $195 starting at a door ding. Now, I'm not saying do that. Don't copy exactly what I'm just saying. I'm just saying, I'm just paraphrasing. Okay.
Well, you're talking about understanding who your client is and then cater to that market. And that's again, like I said, that's going to be one of mine. But now I know what question I was going to ask you is like when you mentioned you're not going to become a better tech unless you're charging accordingly and unless you're, you know, getting those jobs, those types of jobs where they're going to challenge you and you're going to be able to step up to the plate and perform, right? You give yourself that at bat, the opportunity to really knock it out of the park, right? But my question that I was going to ask before I lost my train of thought was, do you think that the majority of PDR service providers are thinking about getting better at PDR though? I mean, because I feel, I don't know. I mean, if I'm looking at the guys in my area, I mean, God bless them. I don't, God bless them. With all due respect, I don't think a lot of these guys are trying to get better. I'm not talking about the listeners. I'm talking
I,
about the guys.
I think they think that they're getting better.
Maybe it's all relative.
What I mean by that is that, look, a lot of people they have a, what is the word I want to say? Where they have I won't say an illusion, but they're deceptive about thinking that if I do bigger dents, I'm going to make more money. When in fact, they are doing bigger dents and they're getting better, but they're working harder and not making as much money. Does that make sense? Because they're not bringing the value with their repairs, right?
Right.
They think that doing big jobs and they charge a little bit more, but not nearly as much as they should. They think that's going to make them more money. Yeah. And showing dents that they do is going to make them have more pull as a company to them, right?
Yeah.
When in fact, if you do less repairs at more money compared to one big dent that you charge less money, it's like I guarantee you, take my business model and take the I'm not going to say, like, let's say your competition, Joe, right? Let's just say let's use your competition. I'm not going to name anybody here, but I'm just saying, if these guys are charging like what you say, right?
Yeah.
I do 2 jobs. I charge $1,200, $1,500. I'm done by 1:00. Okay.
That's a good day.
How long is that going to take the average tech who doesn't understand the value of a service? How hard is he going to have to work at a dealership, or maybe both, retail, right? Yeah. At a dealership, well, we know that's, it can be, some people are very lucky who charge pretty good at a dealership. But I'm just saying in general, I think people are deceptive about doing bigger jobs doesn't always pay more. Does that make sense? It doesn't always pay more if you're not charging for what it's worth. And you're actually not becoming a better tech. You're actually making yourself worse, because you, at the middle of the repair, you're going, this isn't worth it. I'm not, you do it quite often. If you do it quite often, you're doing like, damn. And your repairs, only them can answer this, Joe. So, right, we're not asking them directly. We're saying, hey, think about this, right? How many of those jobs that you walked away from, went to bed and going, I could have done better if I got paid more. I could have done better if it wasn't this or wasn't that. Yeah. Right. We think about it all the time, right? We think of excuses why we never look in the mirror and say, well, you're the cause of it in the beginning. If you would have understood what you should have, what the cost would be, you'd probably be much more better effort and quality into that repair, and you would have made more money. Right. So that's to answer your question. Sorry, it's long-winded, but that's
okay. And I love it, man. I think it really is a psychological game, and it's like all the different skill levels and skill sets of each individual service provider, technician, whatever you want to call them. It's gonna vary. Your mileage may vary, right? But I think the reality is that, we hear, like, some of my friends or some of our friends that call us and, hey, we can't get that kind of price where I'm at, or, well, technically I could say that where I'm at too, but the truth is like, if you're going to try and get every customer, you're competing with the guy who's willing do it for the cheapest price. And again, that's called the race to the bottom, whereas if you stick to what, dealing with your ideal client, like what my thing, I keep dancing around here, but it's my first piece of advice is to identify your ideal client. Okay. And what that means is, you're going to know what kind of problem you're solving, first of all. And you're one of yours was this also. You actually said that, knowing your ideal client, who do you want to get in front of? And that means understanding the problem you're trying to solve, understanding what that looks like, what the value of it is, and you're going to be able to figure out the price of it too. And I feel like the pricing guide or Mobile Tech RX or DentMate, whatever you're using, it tends to sit well once you know who your ideal client is. You can gear your pricing around that and just focus on everything. Your marketing on getting in front of that client, and then when they're in front of you, you work on how you can serve them, instead of just thinking about winning the job, because then it goes back into what you were talking about, Mike, about like when you were saying earlier about your insurance experiences, and your customer, you clarifying to your prospect or your customer that, oh, well, these are the parameters here, and are you going to be willing to step up to the plate when it comes down to it, and the adjuster is trying to only pay a fraction of our asking price? Well, when you were saying that, I was thinking to myself, man, there's probably people listening right now thinking, no, I wouldn't want to say that to my customer because I wouldn't want to lose the opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when you identify who your ideal client is, your chances of being able to deliver that kind of hard communication, or that just hard line communication of just,
you have to get comfortable with yourself first.
yeah,
You can't just like say this stuff and not feel comfortable about it. If you feel uncomfortable about it, so is the client. They're going to feel uncomfortable about it. I'm not saying just blurt that out. You're going to have to get super comfortable and the more experience. Like I said, the more you need to be like, when you talk to somebody, you got to pause. Let them intake what you're saying. Right? If you go, look, this customer, the insurance is going to do this, they're going to do that, and they're going to be this, and they're going to steer you over here. And you're having like, you feel like you're trying to roar them up and like hype them up, but they're trying to compute this, and you're not calm. You're not giving them time to comprehend what you're saying, digest. You have to pause here and there and let them soak in what you're saying. Right.
Right.
Mr. Smith, let me show you how it's going to go. Like these are scenarios that we look out for the insurance. So who's your insurance carrier? Allstate. Okay. So Allstate in general, the adjuster comes to us and I start talking to them very slowly and work it. If I'm not comfortable saying it, I'm not going to say it. Right. I'm also not like, I don't say this stuff right off the bat, Joe. Right. I don't go, all right, your insurance is not out for you. And I'm like, I look like the friggin' wacko. Right. I have to like lead him a little bit and say, okay, here's step one. Let's see what the insurance company does. If they're giving me a hard time, I'll kind of give you an idea of what's going to happen next. Okay. Because I'm pretty familiar with working with the insurance. At this point, I think we're going to go this route and this route. Do you have any questions so far on your claim? Like, do you have any questions on what we're going to do right here? Because the only thing I do say up front is I say, listen, if the adjuster doesn't want to respond to me, give me a little bit of a hard time, are you please willing to go at bat with me? Right. Are you willing to give them a call and put a little fire underneath them so we can get the ball rolling? Yeah. Yes, I am. Okay, perfect. I don't need to go into the other things right away.
Right.
Okay. I have to show them that there's proof that I'm working with the insurance company and doing that. So,
Yeah.
so I don't want people to think I just give them like
No, and
spot it out.
I don't think you do. But because they are your chances are they are your ideal client or a variation of your ideal client because you've marketed to this person and they know they want to do business with Dent Time because you got in front of them
Mhm.
intentionally and strategically. Now, because of that fact, you're going to be able to clarify those things a little bit quicker than with somebody who's just completely off, not on the same page as you, who's not looking for what you're offering. Does that make sense?
It does. I mean, like before this even goes up, like where or how are you? I see you have some damage here. Like, which way are you thinking? Are you thinking about going out of pocket, or
Yeah.
or are you going through? Have you made a claim yet? No, I haven't made a claim. I just figured I'd come by here, see what it's going to cost, and then I was going to make
Yeah.
a decision. So I get a lot of that, right?
Yep.
Um, But the cool thing about it, Joe, is that they're kind of already prepared when they come here because they've done their homework. I've done my homework. I've
Yes.
I've marketed to that client who
Mhm.
understands that I do these type of repairs, right?
Right. Right. So
So
it's fair to say that's your ideal client. And w- would you say that? I mean, just because we are marketing or identifying our ideal client and marketing to them, it doesn't necessarily mean also that every single client we're doing business with is our ideal client.
no,
I
yeah,
think there's going to be variations of those qualities in each individual client, but that's what, we have to understand. Everyone is not your customer, but when we get those prospects in front of us and we're qualifying them, right? We're qualifying them as much
100%.
as they're qualifying us.
You're not doing your business any favor if you're not qualifying people, right?
Right.
There's people we know that cannot stand to lose a customer
Yeah.
at any cost, right?
Right.
And that's not the way I want to like go
Well,
out. I don't want to run my business like that, right?
you basically
I
would
want
be handing leverage over to the prospect, and that's just even the prospect doesn't win at that point. They think they are because because you're probably lowering your price, and at
no,
that point.
because in the back of your head, you're always thinking like, okay, this customer's going to fight me, and I'm ready. I'm ready to like drop my pants.
Right.
You don't like consciously, you're not saying that, but unconsciously, you are.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, okay, what's this job? It's always almost puts you like in a defensive mode right off the bat.
Reactive.
You're expecting him
Yeah.
to bargain with you or just basically do something have an action that you're not willing to do at first, like emotionally, right?
Right.
And you could become defensive, very defensive, right? You could get into an argument with them, which is not good.
Or you
uh,
just start supplicating, you start trying to validate, you start selling,
right,
and
right,
you don't have to. Like you don't
no,
have to. It becomes a situation where you're trying too hard to convince someone, and that that never works. You know.
no, it never works. And I just feel like, listen, I'm not trying to like, I've learned in this podcast, I'll try to do this and keep this in mind that we're not telling anybody out there how to run their business. I'm just giving you some advice that how, I have started in the past 2, 3 years since Joe and I have been really doing this podcast together is like where my clarity is at as far as the avatar, and it's worked. It's worked, right? Some of you guys are thinking, well, Mike Toledo, you have thousands of this and you have lots of followers and you have this. That has nothing to do with it, man. Like I'll be honest with you, having a lot of followers doesn't get me a lot of business. Having clarity in what kind of client I want and how I market the client does, right?
Yeah.
Everything else is just entertainment.
Right.
Right? I know very successful guys who don't have nearly as popularity as my channel does, or followers or whatnot, and they're more successful than me. As far as if you want to compare financially, okay, like what they bring in a month.
Right.
You don't have to be that way. You just have to be very clear on who you want and stick to your guns about like what you understand the value of your time mixed with the factors of your dent repair that you're going to do, right? And if you put those two together,
Yeah.
you, you're gonna have you're instantly become a better tech. I'm gonna tell you that right now, right?
Yeah.
It's
That's
kind of
cool.
like you know, if you do, I think I've said this before and I'll say it again. You have two, let's just say for instance, you have two exact cars, two exact dents, same place. One's your friend, one's a paying customer.
Mm-hmm.
Your friend customer, your friend you're doing for free, the other one you're not, you're going to get paid. It's the same thing. Like the one that you're going to get paid for, you're going to end up doing a better job for. Meaning you have something to lose, you have a carrot dangling in front of you, you have a reputation, there's no safety net.
Right.
So anyways, some of our, you know, some people out there run their business like, hey, I can get out 80%, and they give them a safety net, and they tell the client that, you know, they convince them, and the client, and that client is already accepting that because that's the one that they're fishing for. They don't even know that, because that in their mindset, that's who they're looking for, and that's who they'll get.
Well,
Right.
I mean, if it works for them, then who's to say that's the wrong way of doing it? You know, but I think what we're referring to though is our friends who do reach out to us saying it's not working. You know, you can't get those prices, and so.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
these other guys are lowering. You know, they're doing it for much lower price.
like I said, you cannot just take our advice and just go, oh, I'm going to try that tomorrow, and I'm going to try it the next day, and then I don't have any results.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, you have to have a game plan. You have to write it
Right.
out. You have to
Good
think
intention.
about, yeah, you gotta have all that. But anyways, that's anything else to add, Joe?
Yeah. So what I think, you know, you know, you identify your client, or like you said, your client avatar. And if maybe your ideal client is the person who's just looking for the 80% job, and thus, you know, a lower price repair. And okay, then that's fine. That's a business model too, you know, then do that, but you're not going to get the higher ticket stuff that, you know, when you see Mike Toledo doing a really pristine job on, you know, one of these really technical repairs, you know, that's a different animal. So, but that leads me into the next one, which is think win-win. This is one of the 7 habits of highly effective people by Dr. Stephen Covey. And we've talked about it in the past, but once you do have your ideal client in front of you, you know, and again, this is whether it's a high ticket client or if it's a, you know, just, I want my dent to look better client. If whoever that ideal client is, think win-win. Think about creating a win scenario for them, but also for you. You know, you're not going to have a long term, or like you mentioned earlier, Mike, playing the long game. You're not going to have a sustainable, uh, very sustainable business model if you're just thinking win lose, where they're winning and you're losing, or you're losing, or they're losing and you're winning. You know, but on the other hand, you know, when the prospect or that person who's standing in front of you, your client, eventually, if they feel like they're winning and you're winning, then man, it's a match made in heaven, right?
100%. I mean, that's like, again, it's part of your mindset there. So, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
I
No,
I I I I'm learning to actually turn the customer into, it's their, it's all about them, not me, right?
yeah,
It's like, listen, Mr. Smith, I know your time is super valuable. I'm gonna I'm gonna be able to get this done in 1 to 2 days. I'm talking about the big dents, right? You're talking about like stuff that you're going to get.
yeah,
Another thing too is I wanted to like just elaborate on that though, is when you are doing those big dents too as well, is that you have to allow yourself to have time to finish it at its highest caliber if you want, right? Or the best you can. Let's put it that way. I know some
right.
people are like, well, not every dent's possible to fix completely perfect. And that is reality. That is 100% true.
Yeah, for sure.
But always implement that it's going to take you sometimes twice as long as you anticipate, especially if you've never done that type of repair before or whatnot.
Or if
So
you're still answering your phones, or if you have people coming in, and and you're dealing with a lot of other
Yeah, if
things.
you're one man band, yeah, if you're a one
Yep,
man band, right?
yep,
Um, it takes a tremendous amount of concentration. Like, how many times we're pushing a dent, we're getting our butt kicked and the phone rings and
yep.
it just or someone walks in on you and you're like, you got to stop exactly what you're doing. It's like meditating, someone bothers you in the middle of your meditation. Like it really is.
Yeah, that's that flow
And then you
state.
got to get back into that zone again to pick up where you left off.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I don't know where that went, but
Yeah, no, 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 no. You're right, because that's in my notes about the win-win too. Think win-win is because even though, like me as an example, I tend to show videos of my best repairs, and I try to make them look damn perfect. I really do, and I try to make it look difficult, but as quickly as possible, right? And because that's my ideal client, that's who I am trying to market to, as a person who is meticulous and who wants that, flawless repair. But does that mean all my repairs are perfect? Heck no. In fact, I would say even those repairs, if they look perfect on the video, they're not perfect. They and what I mean there is that, there are times where there's stuff that I won't even film because it's far from perfect. But the agreement with my client at that point, after I've identified them as my ideal client, is that part of them being an ideal client for me is that this is a win-win scenario. They've already explained to me, no, they don't need it perfect. And this kind of contradicts what I said earlier about, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Like when a client says something doesn't need to be perfect, well, there's times though where that imperfection is not noticeable to anybody else but the client and myself. But we all know this. Anyone who's fixing a dent, whether it's a tiny little ding or a larger complex damage, Mike, where we know that something's not going to be perfect. We just know. But we can get it to a point where nobody else, I call it the neighbor test, right? What I'll tell them is like, because if I know for sure, okay, I know I can get this really close, but what I'll tell them, I'll say, look, you and I will know where it was. And this is if they're really asking, like, where are we going to be at with this? Because they already have an idea that it's not going to be perfect, right? And I'll say, look, when you and I look down the side, you might see a distortion, just a slight distortion in the reflection.
mm-hmm.
But if you ask your neighbor to try and find the dent on this door or on this fender or whatever, when I'm done, they're not going to be able to find it.
That's good. Yeah, I like that.
So my point being is that if you're thinking win-win, you're thinking about them getting what they want and you getting what you want. And as long as it's within your standards, I don't advocate doing jobs, like I said earlier, where you really shouldn't be touching this because it's going to look like shit when it's done, because that's going to give you a bad name. It's going to potentially tarnish your reputation, even if the customer is happy with the shoddy work, but if somebody else sees it, they might not understand if it's noticeable. But
Yeah.
that's not to say that some imperfections are very noticeable afterwards.
I think it's a double-edged sword. Yeah.
It really is.
It really, you have to know what you're getting into. Like I did a Tacoma truck, one of the hardest trucks. Like if anybody does it, smashed truck bed through the body line,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to know that metal does not like to cooperate at all.
Yep.
But again, you're right. You got to set the expectations of the client.
And I know which one you're talking about, and I don't want to be negative or bring negative stuff up here, but that post that you did of that Toyota Tacoma, it was smashed hard, and those of us who know that's a very difficult to repair to do, let alone get it. No one's going to get that perfect. But you had a guy talking smack, and he was apparently Mr. Perfect, and I came to your defense. I told the guy, I told him to F off, basically, because he obviously didn't know enough, or he hadn't taken on enough dents like that on a Tacoma, especially, to understand that whatever little imperfections that he was zooming in on they were minuscule, Mike.
Yeah. I listen, let's be real, right? Like, let's talk about like just a little bit of respect for the people in the industry, right? I would never like if I saw people's flaws, right? Because we look, I would commend them first of all for getting it to a point where they were. I wasn't there. I wasn't
You didn't see
pushing
me
the dent myself,
right.
right? I know in reality, not everyone's going to be able to glass their repairs. That's just a reality based on their experience, the technical aspect of the repair, whatnot. And if ladies and gentlemen, if you think I'm trying to make excuses for people or myself, I am. I am, because that's the reality of it. It's not an excuse. It's reality, right? Ask yourself this: can you glass every repair you do, every single? Because if your answer is yes, you're definitely not challenging yourself. You're not getting better. I'll tell you that. That's not getting better. Now, I get it. A lot of people don't. Most 98% of the people don't have the balls to freaking post imperfections because they feel that they'll get ridiculed, just like me. And regardless, maybe I make them feel better because maybe they're not such a great tech themselves. And it feels good to them to pick on or point out stuff that isn't perfect, right? I am not that tech. I do really good work. I know that, right? I've showed flawless repairs, big smashes before. I show them still, but do I post every repair perfect? No. Let's be reality of that. And I think it deserves that attention. Regardless if you guys feel like you want to post the best repairs possible, that's your criteria, and I don't think there's nothing wrong with that, of course. But I do. I like to post stuff that's not perfect because it gives me a chance to tell people, look, you have a similar damage. Let me pull up this post right here. This is probably the worst case scenario.
That's
Okay.
right.
This is a 90%. This is an 85% repair. Oh, I
Mhm.
don't even see what you're talking about. That's half the time I get, like
That
more
is
than half the time.
powerful, man. That is so
Yeah.
powerful. You can show them
I
right
can
here, right?
reference.
When I tell them, or when you tell the prospect, like, listen, I can get this to a certain degree of, you know, perfection or whatever you want to say, but it's not going to be perfect. And what do you mean by that? Well, here's what I mean. Look at this other Toyota Tacoma, and here's the imperfections that are there. And the truth of the matter is, Mike, if you don't want people to see those imperfections, you can
I,
film it and show it
exactly.
without showing that.
I didn't have to put that photo up.
No, you
Right?
didn't.
I
You
don't
didn't.
have to put matter of fact, I got a video of it. The
Right.
video actually looks better than the freaking than the photo.
I
Okay.
did.
The photo caught the right part
Uh-huh.
of the reflection. Okay.
Exactly.
But listen, it's nothing to get all hyped up for. I'm just saying it's crazy. Any experienced professional, I'm saying professional technician who's gotten their asses handed to them multiple times
We'll understand.
would have enough respect and honest to realize that's a pretty good repair, because I don't know if I would do that. I don't even know if I would do that repair again. It was that hard. What you don't see in that photo, which I'm going to show, is a huge high spot in the bottom of the dent where the paint cracked because the guy hit the truck so hard.
Yeah.
And there's a brace in the back of it and it poked through the friggin' panel. Right. I spent more time cleaning that up than I did the top part, the big part you saw.
Yeah.
So I'm behind in videos. I'm behind in a lot of things to show people, but um, because of these repairs, I get backed up. I've got a lot of things going. I just my priorities have changed a bit, right? And I do want to do a lot of different videos, but right now my agenda has changed just a bit, and then I'll get back on track when I do that. It will be later, obviously early next year or something. But
Sure.
anyways, Joe, do you have anything else to add to that? Because I think we're just going to do the three tools when you get a chance. Is something else you had? Did you have one last thing?
Just the third piece of advice is
Yep.
trust. It's just
What's
trust.
that?
Trust. My third piece of advice is
Yep.
trust.
Yep.
And I'll make it quick because it's simple. If you are dealing with your ideal client or someone who has the qualities of your ideal client to some degree of variation, and you are thinking win-win, then trust the process, trust yourself, and build trust with your prospect. You don't ever have to sell them. You don't have to try and convince them of anything. And I'll even come out and say that. I said, look, I'm not trying to convince you one way or another. Here are your options. I will go so far as to state other options that might be viable for them. That, maybe even a better option than PDR. If, for example, they have a little scuff on the paint, and like, I'll say that, look, I can fix the dent. Your scratch will remain. Here's your options. We can do a touch up, or you can go with my friends over here at Green Tech Collision or whatever. They're gonna paint your car. You can go that option, and it just depends on what you're looking for. And when you build that trust with them, a lot of times they want to do business with you. And if they don't want to do business with you at that point because maybe the other option is better, they're going to want to do business with you in other times of need, or they're going to refer you business. So build that trust. Clients don't buy because, and I heard this on this guy's post today, this guy who does sales, and he said, clients don't buy because you pitch harder. They buy because they feel heard. And you mentioned that before, Mike, earlier in our conversation, that you got to listen to them. You got to listen to the client and what they're asking for, and then see if you can deliver.
Yep. 100%. That is the part. Like, don't sell, satisfy, right?
Yep.
Don't sell, satisfy.
There you go.
And add to that just a bit, like you have to give them somewhat of an experience, right? Leave an experience in their mindset, right? Damn, that guy Joe, he's pretty dang nice. He's upfront, trustworthy, transparent, right? He told me what my options were. He didn't try to hide anything or sugarcoat it. I feel good about that guy. Look, I feel like the more genuine you are, and the more, I think you got to work on yourself at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
You can't start blaming your client. You can't start blaming everything around you and the market and yada, yada. You have to look at yourself. Did you do everything you can to, number one, your communication skills, your marketing skills, your pricing skills? Do you measure your time accurately? Are you doing the things that you can help yourself first? And that's what I had to do. I had to look at all these things, realize that, hey, if I can better myself here, I'm going to feel good about myself. And when the customer comes here, I'm ready to help them, give them a great experience about what their options are. And let's build a relationship. I tell clients, like, I don't want you as my customer. I want a relationship as a client. I want you to, I know this ain't gonna be first dent, or maybe your daughter might get a dent, grandparents, anybody who's associated with your friends and family. They're going to be the biggest advocate, right? For that. And you can't look at your customers as a one hitter home run. You have to learn to build relationships with people, and you have to start with yourself first. And that's a big reflection on me. I don't know if you can kind of tell that I have to be more calm or relaxed. I'm usually a little bit more energetic on certain things, but I've been learning, you think at 53 years old, I would have learned that maybe 10 years ago, but I am very passionate about our businesses and what we do and how we do it. But you also have to maintain and control that energy the best way you can. And that's, I'm always trying to work on that, on the customer and client experience. So, thanks, Joe, for your inputs and your 3 essentials of the.
You're welcome.
Okay. I'm going to talk about 3 things. I'm not going to go too elaborate on things. Joe, you can obviously put your input on some of this here. I do want to do a tech tip though, and this is we're going to do it right after I mention these 3 things. Okay. So lateral tension straps, total game changer for me. Okay. On this, so I'm talking about tools, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Lead tips. Now I've had these for years. I've already had them for like 8 years. The Russians gave them to me a while back. I stopped using them for a bit, and then I forgot that how good they were. Anson said that they're going to start making them. I was like, great, like I'll take one. Yeah. So cold glue and slide hammers, it's gotten better, ladies and gentlemen. The hammers have gotten better. The way you set up your cold glue has gotten better. So we're going to touch base on those things, three things. Okay. So let's start with lateral tension straps and the tech tip. So, Joe, you showed me a tech tip. Ladies and gentlemen, you ready to save some money? So Joe says, Mike, dude, I don't know about you, man. We're at dinner, right? Is that what you say? We're at dinner like last week, right? And you said, Mike, I don't know if you told me at dinner or if you told me on the phone. I can't remember. Mike, I torch the glue. I reuse the glue. What are you talking about? Your straps. Really? Yeah, yeah. Get it up to about, no higher than 300 degrees, and I just reuse it. Are you effing genius, man? So I've been doing it, man. I've been doing it. Good. And it works like a charm. Brandon like came over and just was like, oh, let me do that. Cause he comes in randomly, and he was watching us do a big smash. And I said, dude, look, Joe does this, dude. He's like, genius. I can't believe it. Dude, you're saving time. You're saving us time.
Yeah, it's time mainly. Yeah.
Do you know how much, like, you're going to go through like 2 sticks of glue if you do a lot of glue on these straps, right?
That's right.
Those at least a stick, maybe. I'm not exaggerating, maybe a 3/4 of a stick on each one, but you're going through some sticks,
Depending on the size of the strap, man, for sure. Like I still need to go to Black Plague and buy their their kit of different sizes of straps. But in the meantime, I had bought some straps from Harbor Freight, from some toe straps, and I just cut them. But there's a lot of material on those straps. They're too long, actually. But so I do need to order the ones from Keith. But in the meantime, there's probably like 4 sticks of glue on each one. I mean, they're all melted, of course, but yeah, you don't. Now, if I just keep them clean, I don't have to take off the old glue. I just reuse it, and that's something that people have been doing for years. I remember Kaz,
Well, yeah, he was doing like the thick stuff. Yeah, he's been doing that, but I never thought about it on a strap. I just don't know why I didn't think about that.
And you can use a heat gun too. I use a heat gun once in a while, but I use the torch mainly now because the torch is just going to get hotter faster. Speed, and so not only is it quicker to heat that up than to squirt glue. I mean, and I even have one of those high capacity plug-in glue guns, that you can squirt out a whole stick of glue, in a pretty short amount of time. So, but even still, that would take a lot of time and more glue, of course, and you're having to feed more glue in, and it's just a pain in the ass. Why not just use the torch? So, and other people use it too. I've seen other people using the method, but it definitely has saved me on glue, and but mainly saves me on time.
Fantastic. Yeah, I listen, the straps, I got from Black Plague, Keith Constantino. He sent them over to me. But first, he sent me these big ass straps, and I was like, dude, I really can't use these straps, man. Like, and he goes, what do you mean? And I was like, they're too big. He's like, I didn't send you the smaller ones. I'm like, no. He sent me the smaller ones. It was game over, dude. Like I said, okay. Listen, I use straps because they don't dive. They don't dive into your panel. I'm sure you probably could. If you get a strap to dive, you do not know what you're doing. Like, yeah, you're trying to get the money shot and you're just doing it the wrong way. Yeah. Straps are if you don't own straps, like meaning the glue strap, they're basically nylon, big giant seatbelt straps, basically. Yep. Mm-hmm. Right. And you put them on each end. I did a cross thread one, and it is by far the best, right? Everyone has these plastic tabs and they will dive in, and the only ones that I don't have a problem diving into is the retention system, the big giant system one.
Okay.
I like it. It just it can be too big sometimes, a little cumbersome on certain things, but it is fantastic. Putting it down. I'm just saying techs are going to go for what's the most convenient. And right now, straps are the most convenient.
They really are.
And so tension. Anything to add to that, Joe?
Oh yeah. Well, I do want to say
Lateral tension.
I've etched the paint with the tension straps when I didn't have enough glue on the strap. The nylon uh, pattern of the strap
Oh,
made an imprint on the paint on the car that I was putting it on. So be sure to have enough glue on there, and that's where having a
meaning you don't want it to
good.
rub on the panel, basically.
Mhm.
Okay.
And
Okay.
mainly when I put it, sometimes I will put the straps sitting right on straddling the body line, like on those Tesla hatches.
Mhm.
That helps to. And what's cool about the straps are that they're flexible, even with the glue on them. And when they're hot, you can
Mold
conform
them.
the strap to the
Yeah.
body line. But be careful with that, because if the glue if there's a low spot in the glue, and the nylon of the strap makes contact with the paint, and if it's hot enough still, it could put an imprint or burn into the paint, and it just left it looked like a tiny little tire track on the paint. I
Okay.
mean, it was so tiny, no one could see, but I don't want to do that, So
Yeah.
you should. I'm just telling people to look
Good
out.
point. Good tech tip. Like I would never have known that if you didn't say that. Like I wouldn't even think of that, dude. So
And yeah,
that's a
cool.
that's a good note, dude. Thank you.
And yeah, you're welcome. And another precaution, real quick, before you move on to the next tool tip, um, is I'm making sure I check the temperature of the glue before I stick it to the car. I feel like a safe temperature is anything under 300. So anywhere where it's close, where the glue is this close to the same temperature as how it comes out of your glue gun, you're probably not going to burn your paint. But my concern is, like, if you get it up past 400 degrees, and you can get it pretty hot pretty quickly with the blowtorch. Um, I just wouldn't want anybody to burn their customer's paint.
Yeah, we torched it so good that it was started fire and flames coming up, dude. And I was like, yeah, I think that's about hot enough, bro. Like,
Yeah, and maybe don't breathe the fumes
yeah,
when you're
yeah,
burning it too.
yep. Yeah. Uh, so let's talk about lead tips, a cleaner, more precise way to push dents, especially when combined with high heat or those tough areas. So those lead tips are basically a molded soft tip. It will mold into the dent safely without slipping. I haven't slipped. I know you could if you really like if you weren't really paying attention. But unlike any other tools, when it gets hot, it can slip severely, right?
Yeah.
On tools, but the lead tip molds into the dent and it continues to push in non-invasively against the panel. It really gives a great push. Do you have it? Do you own one yet, Joe?
Yep, you gave me one.
Okay. What
And
do
I
you think?
use it. I love it. You're right. It conforms to the metal. It really it's hard to explain, but it's a hard push. It pushes hard, but it's soft.
Yeah.
It's like plastic when we started using plastic, but not so slippery. And it's actually softer than the plastic, but yet it somehow stays strong, a strong, solid push. My only concern is side loading.
Yeah.
I would be careful when side loading, because my concern is that it's going to break. It hasn't broken on me. I've noticed a little bit of bending
Yeah.
because it is soft, but you just want to be careful with the
Yeah, I
side.
was always wondering how they get it to stay in there because I know it's not just the thread that's going into the thread. So it's not the raw thread going in, but there's a screw, what do you call it? Like thread female
Are you
in there.
talking about how
Yeah.
the how the lead tip is fastened to the bolt?
Yeah. I still like I've never ruined any of mine to find out, but yeah, I did see occasionally the bend here and there.
Yeah.
So yes, I would do a word of caution to make sure that you're not heavily side loading them. If you are heavily side loading anything, you're probably using the wrong tool. That's just
I,
my
yep.
take on that.
Mhm.
You could snap threads. You're not paying attention. And my advice to those, if you're using extensions, ladies and gentlemen, I would tape where it connects. The extensions connect to the next extension. So
If you're
that way, when you're side loading, it's not
right.
actually like unscrewing little by little. because you won't know it until you know it, and you
Mike,
don't want to know it.
I sent you a video earlier this year where I was doing precisely that, and I destroyed a quarter panel I was working on because I
Yeah,
was side
so
loading.
did John.
Oh, really? Oh my
Yeah,
God.
it happened to John, and it happens to the best of us, but if we can prevent, right, that, and that's a tech tip, so if you have an extension and you're gonna side load anything,
Yeah.
I would definitely put a little tape, gaffer's tape, and wrap it. Not too thick because you won't be able to fit it through the opening you're going to use it through, but
Yeah.
that's something you want to think about, okay? Especially if you're using longer extensions. So
Yep. And I'll tell you real quick here, another pro tip or failure tip is those extensions that I was using when they broke, the, the little stud broke, but I had O-rings on them.
mm,
That O-ring, which is great for keeping the tip or the extensions fastened and tight and not loosening up, and you lose them in the hole you're working through.
yep, yep,
Um, that O-ring is great for that, keeping the two pieces together, the tip, or extension together with the tool. But it also creates a little bit of a gap between the two pieces, so that it created a vulnerability, and that it was putting too much load now, not on the two extensions that I
the
had,
thread,
but the thread,
yep,
the stud in between, which
that's
I
all it
found
takes.
out is hollow. Can you believe
Yeah,
that? It's
yeah,
actually hollow, right? No wonder it broke, but because it's hollow, because it's the part of the bolt or stud that the hex tool goes through, right? It's freaking hollow, and it broke. And why wouldn't it break? I was putting so much pressure on it, but that having that O-ring on there just created more vulnerability, because now it's relying on, it's putting all the pressure on the bolt.
yep.
Stuff.
That's good tech tips, man. I mean, like, this is gonna save you guys, if you're paying attention. It'll save you lots of headache and lots of embarrassment and lots of money, because and probably a reputation too as well to go with it. So definitely think about, when you those extensions, use with caution, and be careful that you're not side loading the hell out of them without doing a little bit of reassurance and taping around the edge, or the connection.
Don't get
Um, Cold glue and slide hammers. Okay. Refining the setup process to get the most power and efficiency with less effort. I did a video, a quick, like, I don't know how long it was, 60 seconds or something like that, talking about cold glue and the setup time. Number one, a lot of people they put too much glue on their tabs, way too much glue. Um, the less glue, the more adhesion it's actually making to the panel, right? When you have too much thickness of that, it also creates less power as you pull. When you pull it back, it's not as rigid, right? So you're not getting a reaction like you normally will. The glue that I'm referring to is Sergio's glue. So what we have, I personally, in California or in my environment shop, I like to use the blue one. That seems like the best one. The green one tends to get a little gooey quick. So I like the blue one. I will torch it 2 seconds, maybe 3 seconds max, until it glazes on the top.
Okay.
I will stick my thumb in it and rub it around until it's really tacky. I don't want it gooey, because at first it's going to be gooey. If you don't put your finger in there and then you just torch it and glaze it and then put it on, you're going to get a gummy effect. It's not going to pull worth of crap. Anyways, pairing it with one of the slide hammers, the one slide hammer that I've been using all year, and I bought it myself from Matt Bouillette at MTE, was his XLR slide hammer, AR XL slide hammer. That sucker is a beast, man. That you put it on, you twist the glue, and I'm using a VIP metal tap down. I screwed it in there, and I snap the crap out of it.
Okay.
It pulls like a mofo. If you set up the panel right, do your normal things, flash the panel. Not you can't have the panel too hot, because the glue gets gummy again, right? So it's got to be warm enough. Flash it really good. Make sure it's at temperature, and then apply it. And the temperature definitely is going to be around 80, 90 degrees max. You don't want it to 100 because it'll still make the glue too gooey.
Okay.
Lay it in there, put some good pressure around it, twist it, and snap it. Now you can use the new Bulldog 2, which I believe, where did I see it? I think it's at Dentcraft. And so Bulldog 2 is a legit slide hammer. And we're almost done, Joe.
I'm sorry. I gotta get my coffee.
Joe's falling asleep. He's late. He's like, and listen, the cold glue is the way you use it properly now these days compared to what it used to be, how it used. Glexo is the same way. Glexo, I feel like is not as aggressive, but it's aggressive enough. We use it actually for the bigger dents, the big smashes, because we put a big tab on there, and we use the Sergio's Cola Fria, not Sergio, excuse me, Sergio's slide hammer, the one that pivots.
Okay.
Your Kiwi slide hammer is probably a great
Really?
cold glue to use, a hammer, because you got so much weight. The heavier the hammer, the better results, ladies and gentlemen.
Right.
So, but that to me is using the Sergio's cold glue with very thin glue, just enough thickness to go around the tab, and heating it up for 2-3 seconds, and then putting your finger in there, make sure it's tacky as a mofo, not gooey, tacky. Put it on that thing and giving it a snap. I swear you're gonna pull what you need to pull, right? Hail Techs, I know are using it the way they're supposed to be using it like that, and they are practically pulling almost every hail dent on the rail out.
Really?
Give or take, if it's not. Oh yeah, they're Cole showed me too as well. So like he showed me the stuff he was doing. So
Yeah. Mike, could you have a cold glue seminar at the next meetup?
yeah.
I'll pay. Dude. I'll pay to
No,
go.
you ain't paying me crap. Get out of here, dude.
Serious.
No, I've actually got a video tutorial coming out in depth detail on Dent Trainer. So I'll be one of the videos already out by next week because I've already got a lot of that footage shot. So I want to get that out. And I think I haven't named it yet, but it's definitely, it's very detailed. And I think people are going to have a way better result cold gluing than they've ever have, dude. Just those tech tips I'm telling you now is going to change it. So
I hear, you know, how I feel about cold glue. I mean, I guess, I mean, I've tried it, man, but it's just messy, man.
look, I don't use it for big dents. I don't use it for big dents that much, unless I use it for rapid PDR repair, where that's a different story. But that's even rare, because now if you use cold glue for, let me explain what rapid repair is in case we're listening to talking to new people. It's a scenario where a customer has a bigger dent. You know it's going to pull out most of it quickly, and you have an option to tell your client. Now Joe has a different opinion on this, but there are certain clients who just want the cheapest repair for this scenario, or they want the whole repair. Now, since we've talked about this, and what I'll do is I'll take cold glue and I'll snap the dent out, and I tell the customer, listen, before that I explained to him, I said, listen, we have two options. There's a rapid PDR repair where we can guarantee it'll be 50 to 80% better, but you'll still have the original waves and ripples caused from the original impact. That cost is going to be this much, which is generally half the cost or less than half the cost than the main cost. So let's just say, example, it's $250 to rapid PDR repair versus $600, $700 to do the whole thing. Now,
it sounds better than saying we can do a good repair or we can do a half-ass repair.
Yeah, here's where you can get in trouble, or anybody can get in trouble with this. Okay, so let's say you do the rapid repair, right? Any experienced PDR tech is probably going to pull right in the middle. They're going to place it in the middle and they're going to snap it. What do you, Joe, based on your experience, what do you think is going to happen?
You're going to lock up the dent.
You're going to lock up the dent, right?
Yeah.
So, and that can even happen even if you do it from the outside and you're very aware of control. You are still not all the time, but you do have a chance that you could jeopardize the whole repair entirely. Meaning that, the rapid repair, but what happens if the customer goes, you know what, I want it actually fixed all the way.
Now you're on the hook.
you're on the hook, dude. Like you pretty much busted your ass and you kind of got used to it. The reason why I say that is since I've done so many of these rapid PDR repairs, I try to stay away from doing the rapid PDR repair, and I just try to convince them that I want to see where they're at as a client and really make sure that what do they really want. Okay. I don't want to jeopardize doing that.
Do you think that can also have to do with how diligent you've been about getting in front of your ideal client, and that
yes, and
maybe
you
you're
know,
not getting in front of as many of those people?
absolutely. And because of that, I haven't done as many of the rapid PR repairs.
Yeah,
Right.
I believe that. 'Cause I remember you sending me pictures of stuff like people were sending you, they just wanted a cheap price. And both of us are not getting as much of that anymore. Those big
No.
cave-in where people would call up saying, or they'd send a picture and say, how much?
Yeah.
And you just know they want to lower. They're sending that to everybody who does dent repair. And guys are saying, oh, well, I'll do it for 250 or 300 or whatever.
Yep.
And we're not even giving them prices now.
No.
We're
Well,
saying,
that's like, okay, so I recently did a kick-in dent for my student, right? And we did the same scenario with them. I was like, look, this is very tempting to take the cold glue and just snap it.
yeah,
Right.
right.
Chances are we'll probably have a successful snap, but I don't know. I go, and this is real, dude. Like and we're gonna talk about it on video too as well. It's like, this
Yeah.
is a scenario where I think it could oil can if we do the cold glue. Right. And I'd say this is a lesson for you to not get impatient and go for the cold glue, because this is not a scenario for cold. Matter of fact, I don't think the big repairs, it's ideal for cold glue.
Mhm.
Because I think it's more ideal for lateral tension where you can slowly control the metal flow of where it goes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Or using it while you have lateral tension you're talking about, and then
Right.
cold glue on it.
No, I even still hesitant on that, dude. Right.
Right.
I'm learning to evolve about like, look, what are the pros and cons and what are the benefit? Like, obviously, is the risk and reward worth one or the other? Right.
Right. Right.
To me personally, going slow, setting up the process, it might take an hour versus 10 seconds
Yeah.
to
Well,
set up.
yeah.
Right. So then am I going to oil can the damn thing and then I get the Power PR box? I'm setting up now. I'm spending 2 hours Power PR boxing it, saving the stretch, saving the oil can, tearing things apart because I got impatient.
I read a quote in a book the other day I was reading, and this guy said, give me 7 hours to chop down a tree, and I'll spend 6 hours sharpening my axe. You get it? Because
No, say it again. I'm a little slow.
Yeah.
Say it again.
Give me 6 hours, or give me 7 hours to chop down a tree, and I will spend 6 of those hours
Oh,
sharpening my axe.
I get you. Okay.
Which is another one of the 7 habits of highly effective people, man. It's keeping the axe sharp.
I like I said, like I tell like any new students I've been training is like, look, set up time in the beginning, take your time in the beginning, whether it be an hour, half hour versus the easy route, 10 minutes, 10 seconds, whatever it is. You're going to save, guarantee you, 4 hours, dude.
Yeah.
Cleanup that you could have prevented in the beginning, dude. Like we got into this thing. I know this podcast is going along, but hey, it is what it is, dude. But we got in the habit of like, we're gonna rough it out. You heard that, right? We're gonna rough it out, dude.
Yeah.
That is not in the agenda anymore, bro. Like we are not roughing out shit. We are going to take our time and get this going the way we want.
Yeah.
And turn these little small battles into easy battles. Cause I don't want these small hard battles. I want small, easy battles. Right.
Unless you can move it cleanly, quickly, but oftentimes we find where on these more complex repairs, there's some setup time because you want you want to redistribute the metal now, hence lateral tension. You know, we want to redistribute it in different directions simultaneously. And why not? You know, it's cleaner results.
Lateral tension right now is taking me, like the way I got it set up now, between the Cam Auto or a Kiko Power K-Bar or whatever that is. Dude, I can get it set up with the hot glue. The hot glue is going to be the longest part, right? So if you have a gun you're going to turn on, then yeah, that's going to, or if you already have straps that already have the glue on it and you're taking us our advice, dude, you're going to get those straps ready in like 15 seconds, each one of them, right? And then you just got to put the thing together, get it going, and bang, you're on your way, dude, right? And you controlled it, right? You're not overstretching anything. You're doing it the way you
that's a
want
rapid
to do it.
repair there, man, to some degree. I mean,
It is, yeah.
It's like that video you sent me of where you did this crisscross straps.
Yeah.
You know, the 2 lateral tensions. And did you post that?
I did it on my story, but I didn't go any further than that. I just posted what I showed you, dude.
We should show that and discuss it in the next podcast if you want.
Okay.
Because I think it's powerful. I think it's powerful in many ways, and it shows that you know, like exactly what you're saying is like the setup time may seem a little bit longer, but it's actually quicker in the end.
Yeah.
Because you showed there is like, I mean, it's like what we would all want in a rapid, quote unquote, rapid repair with a cold glue, and you want that whole thing to just pop out. Well, you were able to get it to do that, but not by popping it out through the center, but by stretching it this way and stretching it that way, and one right after another. I couldn't believe it. Like part of the dent came out, half of it came out, and then the second crisscross applesauce, it completely came out.
I moved the strap closer to where the dent started coming in, so it almost looked like I didn't move them at all, but I ended up moving it closer because the dent moved in, right? Okay. So there's no need for me to overstretch anything that didn't need to be stretched, right?
Because it
so
reduced the size of it.
Yeah. So you know, my tech is a 2-year tech. He's a freaking great tech, and he never lateraled before. He wanted to like learn how to do these bigger dents, and so he was like, wow, like this is crazy, you know.
Revolutionary.
It is, but it's all about, you know, once you got eager, because we're all super eager about, we want to do these big dents and we want to like do it as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Why do you want to rush it's like rushing to a red light. You're going to speed up to a red light. That's basically what I'm trying to say, right? You're like, what, dude, take your time, man. The red light's going to be there no matter what. But if you're going to be at the red light, how long do you want to be at the red light? That's the question, dude.
Right.
So anyways, I think that's about a wrap, Joe. Thank you very much, man, for
sure, man.
Thank you again. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in. And I know this has been a longer one, but I hope you guys appreciate it. We're kind of putting a lot of things in perspective for you guys. And yeah, thanks again. Happy holidays to everybody. I'm not sure when we'll do another one, but if we don't talk to you guys soon, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Feliz Navidad, Happy New Year. Joe, that's it.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me on. I appreciate the conversation.
Talk to you guys later. See ya.